Hello. Hi, everybody. Hold on because we're about to get on forklifts. Well, not just figuratively, not literally, but someday you might. And if you do, you'll be glad you listen to me here. Forklifts are all over the place, and there's probably a very, very good chance that wherever you go, there's going to be forklifts. And maybe wherever you go, they don't know what they're doing with forklifts. But our purpose here is so that you do. So let's get on it. All righty, there's your familiar heading of the OSHA regulation, 1910.178, powered industrial trucks. If you look up, you won't find the word forklifts hardly anywhere in OSHA. They call them powered industrial trucks, which is fine. They call them whatever they want to call them. We call them forklifts. General requirements. This section contains safety requirements relating to fire protection, design, maintenance, and use of fork trucks, tractors, platform lift trucks, motorized hand trucks, and other specialized industrial trucks powered by electric motors or internal combustion engines. This section does not apply to compressed air or non-flammable compressed gas operated industrial trucks. I've never seen one of those, but I guess they exist. Nor to farm vehicles, nor to vehicles intended primarily for earth moving or over the road hauling. So they're exempting some pretty broad categories, primarily for earth moving. So if you have a bulldozer or something like that, it doesn't apply to that. So there are some that's pretty broad exceptions, but farm vehicles, earth moving, and over the road hauling are the three big ones. All new powered industrial trucks acquired and used by an employer shall meet the design and construction requirements for powered industrial trucks established in the American National Standard for Powered Industrial Trucks, Part 2, ANSI B 56.1, which is incorporated by reference, except for vehicles intended primarily for earth moving or over the road hauling. Okay, so they're doing that again. So now it's exempt twice. Approved trucks shall bear a label or some other identifying mark indicating approval by the testing laboratory. See page A, paragraph A7 of the section and paragraph 405 of that standard we talked about, which provides that if the powered industrial truck is accepted by a nationally recognized testing laboratory, it should be so marked. Modifications and additions which affect capacity and safe operation shall not be performed by the customer or user without manufacturer's prior written approval. Capacity operation and maintenance instruction plates, tags, or decals shall be changed accordingly. Now, we had the people with OK Foods, they were pretty good about this. In fact, they want to drill a 1/4-inch hole in the upright that supported the overhead guard to put a computer in it and some to mount a computer for the warehouse in Muldrow. And they knew not to mess around with the forklifts, do anything to them. So without letting me know, so they asked me, and I wrote to the manufacturer, and I got an answer. So it was okay to do so. It was a little bit. I mean, a 1/4-inch hole probably not going to do much, but we went ahead and did it and got their approval, so we were covered. If the truck is equipped with a front end attachments other than factory installed attachments, the user shall request that the truck be marked to identify the attachments and show the approximate weight of the truck and attachment combination at maximum elevation with load laterally centered. The user shall see that all nameplates and markings are in place and are maintained in a legible condition. As used in this section, the term approved truck or approved industrial truck means a truck that is listed or approved for fire safety purposes for the intended use by a nationally recognized testing laboratory. That means use, doesn't mean use by the laboratory, that means approved by the laboratory, using nationally recognized testing standards. Refer to 1910 to 155, et cetera, for definition of listed. And we're not going to go into that. Now, designations. For the purpose of this standard, there are 11 different designations of industrial trucks or tractors as follows: D, DS, DY, E, ES, EE, EX, G, GS, LP, and LPS. So we're going to talk about them. The D designated units are similar to the G units, except they are diesel engine powered instead of gasoline engine powered. D for diesel, G for gasoline. I like that. The DS unit, the designated units, are diesel-powered units that are provided with additional safeguards to the exhaust, fuel, and electrical systems. They may be used in some locations where a D unit may not be considered suitable. Okay, makes sense. The DY designated units are diesel-powered units that have all the safeguards of the DS units. In addition, do not have any electrical equipment, including the ignition, and are equipped with temperature limitation features. The E designated units are electrically powered units that have minimum acceptable safeguards against inherent fire hazards. So the E would just be like your basic bare bones electrical forklift. The ES designated units are electrically powered units that, in addition to all the requirements of the E units, which are very many, obviously, are provided with additional safeguards to the electrical system to prevent emission of hazardous sparks and to limit surface temperatures. They may be used in some locations where the use of an E unit may not be considered suitable. Well, that makes a lot of sense too. The EE designated units are electrically powered units that have, in addition to all the requirements for the E and ES units, the electric motors and all other electrical equipment completely enclosed. In certain locations, the EE unit may be used where the use of E and ES may not be considered suitable. Again, you can see what they're doing here. It makes a lot of sense. The EX designated units are electrically powered units that differ from the E, ES, or EE units in that the electrical fittings and equipment are so designed, constructed, and assembled that the units may be used in certain atmospheres containing flammable vapors or dusts. So the G designated units are gasoline-powered units having a minimum acceptable safeguards against inherent fire hazards. The GS designated units are gasoline-powered units that are provided with additional safeguards to the exhaust, fuel, and electrical system. They may be used in some locations where the use of a G unit may not be considered suitable. The LP designation unit is similar to the G unit, except that liquefied petroleum gas is used for fuel instead of gasoline. The LPS designated units are liquefied petroleum gas powered units that are provided with additional safeguards to the exhaust, fuel, and electrical systems. They may be used in some locations where the use of an LP unit may not be considered suitable. The atmosphere or location shall have been classified as to whether it is hazardous or non-hazardous prior to the consideration of industrial trucks being used therein, and the type of industrial truck required shall be provided as provided in paragraph D of this section for such a location. So in other words, you want to know what location, what are you going to put, what kind of atmosphere are these things going into before you buy one. And that makes a lot of sense. Okay, designate your locations. The industrial trucks specified under subparagraph 2 of this paragraph are the minimum types required, but industrial trucks having greater safeguards may be used if desired. And again, that's pretty standard. For specific areas of use, see table N1, which tabulates the information contained in this section. References are the corresponding classification as used in subpart S, electrical, of this part. Powered and operated industrial trucks shall not be used in atmospheres containing hazardous concentrations of acetylene, butadiene, ethylene oxide, hydrogen, or gases or vapors equivalent in hazard to hydrogen, such as manufactured gas, propylene oxide, acetaldehyde, cyclopropane, diethyl ether, ethylene, isoprene, or unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrazine, UDMH. So no powered industrial trucks are good in atmospheres that have hazardous concentrations of those. Power operated industrial trucks should not be used in atmospheres containing hazardous concentrations of metal dust, including aluminum, magnesium, and their commercial alloys, other metals of similarly hazardous characteristics, or in atmospheres containing carbon black, coal, or coke dust, except approved battery operated industrial trucks designated as EX may be used in such atmospheres. So, you know, if you have that kind of stuff, you need an EX truck. In atmospheres where dust of magnesium, aluminum, or aluminum bronze may be present, fuses, switches, motor controllers, and circuit breakers of trucks shall have enclosures specifically approved for such locations. So I'm not talking about even a different modification. Only approved power-operated industrial trucks designated as EX may be used in atmospheres containing acetone, acrylon nitrile, alcohol, ammonia, benzene, benzol, butane, ethylene dichloride, gasoline, hexane, lacquer solvent vapors, naphtha, natural gas, propane, propylene, styrene, vinyl acetate, vinyl chlorine, or xylenes in quantities sufficient to produce explosive or ignitable mixtures, and where such concentrations of these gases or vapors exist continuously, intermittently, or periodically under normal operating conditions, or may exist frequently because of repair, maintenance operations, leakage, breakdown, or faulty operation of equipment. So I'm not sure. So what even want to be working in an atmosphere like that? I wouldn't. Powered operating industrial trucks designated as, that's what that said, DY, EE, or EX may be used in locations where volatile flammable liquids or flammable gases are handled, processed, or used, but in which the hazardous liquids, vapors, or gases will normally be confined within closed containers or closed systems from which they can escape only in cases of accidental rupture or breakdown of such containers or systems, or in the case of abnormal operation of equipment. Also, in locations in which hazardous concentrations of gases or vapors are normally prevented by positive mechanical ventilation, which might become hazardous through failure or abnormal operation of the ventilating equipment, or in locations which are adjacent to Class 1 Division 1 locations, and to which hazardous concentrations of gases or vapors might occasionally be communicated, unless such communication is prevented by adequate positive pressure ventilation from a source of clear air and effective safeguards against ventilation failure are provided. So there's a lot of meat on those potatoes right there. A lot of stuff in that one. So now I look at table N1. Now, if you look in your standard book, you'll see this table N1. It'll probably be easier to see what we can do here. But they give you, first of all, classes. There's unclassified locations not possessing atmospheres as described in the meta columns. Class 1 locations, locations in which flammable gases or vapors are or may be present in the air in quantity sufficient to produce explosive or ignitable mixtures. Class 2 locations, locations which are hazardous because of the presence of combustible dust. Class 3 locations, locations where easily ignitable fibers or flyings are present, but not likely to be in suspension in quantity sufficient to produce ignitable mixtures. And then there's groups in classes. So now examples of locations or atmospheres in classes and groups. So none, piers and wharves, inside and outside general storage, outside general storage, general industrial, or commercial property. So general industrial, there's none of these further groups. And then these groups are acetylene for A, B, hydrogen, C, ethyl ether, D, gasoline, naphtha, alcohols, acetone, lacquer, solvent, benzene, E, metal dust, F, carbon black, coal dust, coke dust, G, grain dust, flour dust, starch dust, organic dust, and none, baled waste, cocoa fiber, cotton, excelsior, hemp, gisel, jute, kapok, oakum, sisal, Spanish moss, synthetic fibers, tow. Okay, whatever tow is. And then divisions, nature of hazard conditions. So above, it says above conditions exist intermittently or periodically under normal operating conditions. Above condition may occur accidentally as due to a puncture of a storage drum. And then explosive mixture may be present under normal operating conditions, or failure of equipment may cause the condition to exist simultaneously with arcing or sparking of electrical equipment, or where dust of electric nature may be. Explosive mixture not normally present, but where deposits of dust may cause heat rise in electrical equipment, or which such deposits may be ignited by arcs or sparks from electrical equipment. Then you have these two locations in which easily ignitable fibers are or materials producing combustible flyings are handled, manufactured, or used. Location which easily ignitable fibers are stored or handled, except in the process of manufacture. So those are divisions. So this is a little bit confusing, but if you look here, this is where it says diesel. So then here's your type Ds and Ds, and electric, here's your type E's and stuff. And then there's all your classes at the top. And G's are general. And and a double asterisk means trucks conforming to these types may also be used. See subdivision CX2 and C2X and C2XI of this section. So, and again, it's a lot easier if you do look at the stuff in the book and get a handle on it. But you can see now if you're going to pick out you're going to go buy a new, have a new operation or a new. This happens not a lot, but sometimes your company buys another company, and all of a sudden you're thrust into this thing, and you need to figure out what's going on. And you might make sure if they have any of this stuff that they're using the right truck. They may not be. So, in locations used in the storage of hazardous liquids in sealed containers or liquefied or compressed gases in containers, approved powered operated industrial trucks designated DS, ES, GS, or LPS may be used. And This classification includes locations where volatile, flammable liquids or flammable gases or vapors are used, but which will become hazardous only in the case of accident. And this is kind of similar to before, so I'm not going to read this whole thing. So you can see if you have one of these locations, you really need to dig into this standard to make sure that it's the right thing, because there's a lot of restrictions on it, and you want to make sure you have the right truck. And if you're just a general industry, then you don't have to worry about it too much. So only approved power operated industrial trucks designated as EX shall be used in atmospheres in which combustible dust is or may be in suspension continuously, intermittently, or periodically under normal operating conditions in quantity sufficient to produce explosive or ignitable mixtures, or where mechanical failure or abnormal operation of machinery or equipment might cause such mixtures to be produced. Combustible dust is nasty stuff. The EX classification usually in the working area of grain handling and storage plants, room containing grinders or pulverizers, cleaners, graders, scalpers, open conveyors or spouts, open bins or hoppers, mixers. And this is all looks like all kind of like grain handling type of things that would produces a lot of dust. So malting plants, all kind of stuff is dust and powders. That's basically what this is the EX classification in a nutshell. Only approved power operated industrial truck designated as DY, EE, or EX shall be used in atmospheres in which combustible dust will not normally be in suspension in the air or not likely to be thrown into suspension by the normal operation of equipment or apparatus in quantity sufficient to produce explosive or ignitable mixtures, but where deposits or accumulations of such dust may be ignited by arcs or sparks originating in the truck. Only approved powered operated industrial trucks designated as DY, EE, or X shall be used in locations which are hazardous because of the presence of easily ignitable fibers or flyings, but in which such fibers or flyings are not likely to be in suspension in the air in quantity sufficient to produce ignitable mixtures. And then only approved power operated industrial trucks designated as DS, DY, ES, CX, EG, and LPS, and that's a bunch of them, shall be used on locations where easily ignitable fibers are stored or handled, and which are not being processed or manufactured. Industrial trucks designated as E, which have been previously used in these locations, may be continued in use. That's an odd thing to put in there for OSHA, to put in something like that. And if you've been doing it that way for long, I guess it's okay, keep using it. You won't see that in OSHA very often, believe me. All right. On piers and wharves handling general cargo, any approved powered operated industrial truck designated as type D, E, G, or LP may be used, or trucks which conform to the requirements of these types may be used. If storage warehouses and outside storage locations are hazardous, only the approved power operated industrial truck specified for such locations in this paragraph shall be used. If not classified as hazardous, any approved powered operated industrial truck designated the type D, E, G, or LP may be used, or trucks which conform to the requirements for these types may be used. That's those two paragraphs they quoted back earlier in the standard when we talked about these things. So you can see they've done it, tried to make it as kind of difficult as possible. If general industrial or commercial properties are hazardous, only approved power operated industrial trucks specified at such locations shall be used. So if not classified as hazardous, then you don't have to worry about it. Pretty much what they're saying here. Converted industrial trucks, power operated industrial trucks that have been originally approved for the use of gasoline for fuel, when converted to the use of liquefied petroleum gas fuel, which is propane, in accordance with paragraph Q of this section, may be used in those locations where GGS or LGS or LP and LPS designated trucks have been specified in the preceding paragraphs. So you can convert a gasoline truck into an LPG truck. Oops. High lift rider trucks shall be fitted with an overhead guard manufactured in accordance with paragraph A2 of this section, unless operating conditions do not permit. If the type of load presents a hazard, the user shall equip fork trucks with a vertical load backrest extension manufactured in accordance with paragraph A2 of this section. And there's what paragraph A2 says. All new powered industrial trucks acquired and used by an employer shall meet the design and construction requirements of that ANSI standard. So basically, that's what they're referring to. Fuel handling and storage. The storage and handling of liquid fuels such as gasoline and diesel fuel shall be in accordance with NFPA Flammable and Combustible Liquids Code, which is incorporated by reference. Storage and handling of liquefied petroleum gas fuel shall be in accordance with NFPA Storage and handling of liquefied petroleum gases, which is incorporated by reference as specified in 1910.6. So you can see they're throwing stuff in here that's incorporated by reference. Changing and charging storage batteries. Battery charging installations shall be located in areas designated for that purpose, by all means. Facilities shall be provided for flushing and neutralizing spilled electrolyte, for fire protection, for protecting charging apparatus from damage by trucks, and for adequate ventilation for dispersal of fumes from gassing batteries. And OK Foods, we had a lot of these in the plants, and a lot of time they would have the charging apparatus up off the ground on a big shelf kind of thing, so then they couldn't get damaged. And of course, that was a good idea. Oh, the G3 is reserved. I don't know why. A conveyor, overhead hoist, or equivalent material handling equipment shall be provided for handling batteries. Needless to say, a battery in a forklift truck is heavy, and you do not want to try to lift it by yourself. You can try, but you won't. Reinstalled batteries shall be properly positioned and secured in the truck. A carboy tilter or siphon shall be provided for handling electrolyte. When charging batteries, acid shall be poured into water. Water should not be poured into acid. Why do you always pour acid into water? Simple reason is when you pour something, one liquid into another, the liquid that splashes is the one that's being poured into. So what this, you pour acid into water, then water will splash, not acid. Trucks shall be properly positioned and brake applied before attempting to change or charge batteries. Makes sense? Care shall be taken to assure that vent caps are functioning. The battery or compartment covers shall be open to dissipate heat. So you have a battery compartment covers and you open them up when you're charging because there's going to be some heat created. Smoking shall be prohibited in the charging area. Precautions shall be taken to prevent open flames, sparks, or electric arcs in battery charging areas. Tools and other metallic objects shall be kept away from the top of uncovered batteries. Makes sense too. You can do that in your car too. Where general lighting is less than 2 lumens per square foot, auxiliary directional lighting shall be provided on the truck. So that's where general lighting is not available. You have to have a light on the truck. Concentration levels of carbon monoxide gas created by powered industrial truck operations shall not exceed the level specified in 1910.1000. Okay, dock board, see subpart D of this section. Trucks and railroad cars. The brakes of highway trucks shall be set and wheel chocks placed under the rear wheels to prevent the trucks from rolling while they are boarded with powered industrial trucks. Makes sense. Wheel stops or other recognized positive protection shall be provided to prevent railroad cars from moving during loading or unloading operations. Fixed jacks may be necessary to support a semi-trailer and prevent upending during loading or unloading when the trailer is not coupled to a tractor. Fixed jack is one that goes up with the fifth wheels in at the front of the truck. So when you get into the front of it, it doesn't tip over. Positive protection shall be provided to prevent railroad cars from being moved while dock boards or bridge plates are in position. Operator training, safe operation. This is probably the meat and potatoes here for anybody involved in plant safety. Is everything else has to be taken care of by all means, but the day-to-day stuff is operator training, safe operation. The employer shall ensure that each powered industrial truck operator is competent to operate a powered industrial truck safely, as demonstrated by the successful completion of the training and evaluation specified in this paragraph. Prior to permitting an employee to operate a powered industrial truck, except for training purposes, the employer shall ensure that each operator has successfully completed training required by this paragraph, except as permitted by I-5. There's always an exception, right? So, program training implementation. Trainees may operate a powered industrial truck only. You know, this is important. You can't get somebody on a truck and say, okay, go load that truck for your training. No, that's not how you do it. Under the direct supervision of persons who have the knowledge, training, and experience to train operators and evaluate their competence, and where such operation does not endanger the trainee or other employees. So could you have them load a truck on it? Well, yeah, you could if they're under direct supervision and there's nobody else around, maybe. Yeah. Not a good idea, though. Training shall consist of a combination of formal instruction, in other words, lecture, discussion, interactive computer learning, videotape, written material, Practical training, demonstrations performed by the trainer, and practical exercises performed by the trainee, and evaluation of the operator's performance in the workplace. All operator training and evaluation shall be conducted by persons who have the knowledge, training, and experience to train powered industrial truck operators and evaluate their competence. Training program content: powered industrial truck operators shall receive initial training in the following topics, except in topics which the employer can demonstrate are not applicable to safe operation of the truck and the employer's workplace. Truck-related topics: operating instructions, warnings, and precautions for the types of truck the operator will be authorized to operate, differences between the truck and the automobile, truck controls and instrumentation, where they're located, what they do, and how they work, engine or motor operation, steering and maneuvering, visibility, including restrictions due to loading, fork and attachment adaptation, operation and use limitations, vehicle capacity, vehicle stability, any vehicle inspection and maintenance that the operator will be required to perform, refueling and or charging and recharging of batteries, operating limitations, any other operating instructions, warnings, or precautions listed in the operator's manual for the types of vehicles the employee is being trained to operate. There you go again, operator's manual. Gotta heed what they say in the operator's manual. Work-related topics. So we talked about truck-related topics. Now we're talking about work-related topics. Surface conditions where the vehicle will be operated. Composition of loads to be carried and load stability. Frequently in companies, the loads are all the same. They're carrying the same product, but sometimes that kind of warehouse, they're all different. So they have to know that. Load manipulation, stacking and unstacking. Pedestrian traffic in areas where the vehicle will be operated. Narrow aisles and other restricted places where the vehicle will be operated. Hazardous classified locations where the vehicle will be operated. Ramps and other sloped surfaces that could affect the vehicle's stability. Closed environments and other areas where insufficient ventilation or poor vehicle maintenance could cause a buildup of carbon monoxide or diesel exhaust. And that's pretty important. If somebody's in a small or relatively small area, that can happen. You could eat up all the good stuff in the air in there and leave buildup of carbon monoxide. Other unique or potentially hazardous environmental conditions in the workplace that could affect safe operation and the requirements of this section. Refresher training and evaluation. This is important too. Refresher training, including an evaluation of the effectiveness of that training, shall be conducted as required by paragraph L4II. That's I guess L4II, to ensure that the operator has the knowledge and skills needed to operate the powered industrial truck safely. So refresher training. Refresher training and relevant topics shall be provided to the operator when the operator has been observed to operate the vehicle in an unsafe manner, the operator has been involved in an accident or near miss incident, the operator has received an evaluation that reveals that the operator is not operating the truck safely. So when the operator is assigned to a different type of truck, obviously refresher training will be needed then. A condition in the workplace changes in a manner that could affect safe operation of the truck. An evaluation of each powered industrial truck operator's performance shall be conducted at least once every 3 years. Now, it doesn't say you have to go through full-blown training. It's an evaluation of the operator's performance. It's a good idea to do the whole training, but you have to at least do the evaluation. Avoidance of duplicative training. If an operator has previously received training in a topic specified in paragraph L3 of this section, and such training is appropriate to the truck and working conditions encountered, additional training in that topic is not required if the operator has been evaluated and found competent to operate the truck safely. So if they've been evaluated, the employer shall certify that each operator has been trained and evaluated as required by this paragraph. The certification shall include the name of the operator, the date of the training, the date of the evaluation, and the identifier of the persons performing the evaluation. The employer shall ensure that operators of powered industrial trucks are trained as appropriate by the date shown in the following table, and I'm not going to worry about those. Appendix A to this section provides non-mandatory guidance in assisting employers implementing this paragraph. This appendix does not add to, alter, or reduce the requirements of this section. We're going to talk about it now. Truck operations. Trucks shall not be driven up to anyone standing in front of a bench or other fixed objects. In other words, there's a bench here, and you can't drive your truck up to it if there's somebody standing there. No person shall be allowed to stand or pass under the elevated portion of any truck, whether loaded or empty. So if the forks are up here, nobody walks under here. Unauthorized personnel should not be permitted to ride on powered industrial trucks. A safe place to ride shall be provided where riding of trucks is authorized. Boy, that's just common sense 101, huh? No riders. The employer shall prohibit arms or legs from being placed between the uprights of the mast or outside the running lines of the truck. Well, that's important. We had an operator at OK Foods who was going to try to reach for the control to open the door, and she stuck her arm out and moved like this. And we think by doing that, her left foot hit the gas and moved the truck forward, and there was a bollard there, so her arm got caught between the bollard here and the truck upright and messed it up bad. Didn't break it, but just pulled all the muscles out of it. It was bad. Poor lady was hurting. Good girl, good lady, too, good operator. So, and you don't stick your arms and legs out of it, even if it's stopped. But it said outside the running lines of the truck, even if it's stopped, don't stick them out. And you never know when it's going to go. When a powered industrial truck is left unattended, load engaging means shall be fully lowered, control shall be neutralized, power shall be shut off, and brakes set. Wheels shall be blocked if the truck is parked on an incline. Now, this unattended thing is important because this is something an ocean inspector will ask the operator. A powered industrial truck is unattended when the operator is 25 feet or more away from the vehicle, which remains in his view, or whenever the operator leaves the vehicle and it's not in view. So it's unattended when you're 25 feet away, you can't see it. All right. When the operator of an industrial truck is dismounted and within 25 feet of the truck, still in his view, the load engaging means shall be fully lowered, controls neutralized, and the brakes set. So you still have to always be lowered, controls are neutral, and brakes set, even if you're, but don't shut it off if you're within 25 feet and in view of it. A safe distance shall be maintained from the edge of ramps or platforms while on any elevated dock or platform or freight car. Trucks shall not be used for opening or closing freight doors. Generally speaking, that safe distance is the width of your tire. Brakes, but that's not a rule. That's just a guideline. Brakes shall be set and wheel blocks shall be in place to prevent movement of trucks, trailers, or railroad cars while loading or unloading. I covered that already, kind of. Fixed jacks may be necessary to support a semi-trailer during loading or unloading when the trailer is not coupled to a tractor. The flooring of trucks, trailers, and railroad cars shall be checked for brakes and weakness before they are driven onto. That's a good idea because there's some trucks out there in bad shape. There'll be sufficient headroom under overhead installations, lights, pipes, sprinkler system, etc. If there's not, you'll find out pretty quick. An overhead guard shall be used as protection against falling objects. It should be noted that an overhead guard is intended to offer protection from the impact of small packages, boxes, bag material, etc., representative of the job application, but not with this to withstand the impact of a falling capacity load. A load backrest extension shall be used whenever necessary to minimize the possibility of the load or part of it from falling rearward. Only approved industrial trucks shall be used in hazardous locations. Fire aisles, access to stairways, and fire equipment shall be kept clear. So don't park your forklift in a fire aisle or in front of fire equipment. All traffic regulations shall be observed, including authorized plant speed limits. A safe distance shall be maintained approximately 3 truck lengths from the truck ahead, and the truck shall be kept under control at all times. The right-of-way shall be yielded to ambulances, fire trucks, or other vehicles in emergency situations. Makes sense. Other trucks traveling in the same direction at intersections, blind spots, or other dangerous locations shall not be passed. The driver shall be required to slow down and sound the horn at cross aisles and other locations where vision is obstructed. If the load being carried obstructs forward view, the driver shall be required to travel with the load trailing. Railroad tracks shall be crossed diagonally whenever possible. Parking closer than 8 feet from the center of the railroad tracks is prohibited. 8 feet from the center of the tracks. Can't park anywhere near there. Drivers shall be required to look in the direction of and keep a clear view of the path of travel. That's really good advice. Grades shall be ascended or descended slowly. When ascending or descending grades in excess of 10%, loaded trucks shall be driven with the load upgrade. On all grades, the load and load engaging means shall be tilted back if applicable and raised only as far as necessary to clear the road surface. Under all travel conditions, the truck shall be operated at a speed that will permit it to be brought to a stop in a safe manner. Stunt driving and horseplay shall not be permitted. The driver shall be required to slow down for wet and slippery floors. Good idea, even on your car. Dock boards or bridge plates shall be properly secured before they are driven over. Dock board or bridge plates shall be driven over carefully and slowly, and their rated capacity never exceeded. Elevators shall be approached slowly and then entered squarely after the elevator car is properly leveled. Once on the elevator, the control shall be neutralized, power shut off, and the brakes set. Motorized hand trucks must enter elevator or other confined areas with load end forward. Motorized are pallet jacks, power jacks. Running over loose objects on the roadway surface shall be avoided. While negotiating turns, speed shall be reduced to a safe level by means of turning the hand steering wheel in a smooth, sweeping motion. Okay, that's not, you don't lower the speed by doing that. You negotiating turn by doing that. Except when maneuvering at a very low speed, the hand steering wheel shall be turned at a moderate, even rate. Only stable or safely arranged loads shall be handled. Caution shall be exercised when handling off-center loads, which cannot be centered. Get some really weird stuff to load, and you got to really be careful. Only loads within the rated capacity of the truck shall be handled. The long or high, including multiple tiered loads, which may affect capacity, shall be adjusted. Trucks equipped with attachments shall be operated as partially loaded trucks when not handling a load. A load engaging means shall be placed under the load as far as possible. The mast shall be carefully tilted backward to stabilize the load. Extreme care shall be used when tilting the load forward or backward, particularly when high tiering. Tilting forward load engaging means elevated shall be prohibited except to pick up a load. An elevated load shall not be tilted forward except when the load is in a deposit position over a rack or stack. When stacking or tiering, only enough backward tilt to stabilize the load shall be used. If at any time a powered industrial truck is found to be in need of repair, defective, or in any way unsafe, the truck shall be taken out of service until it has been restored to safe operating condition. Fuel tanks should not be filled while the engine is running. Spillage should be avoided. Spillage oil or oil fuel shall be carefully washed away or completely evaporated and the fuel tank cap replaced before starting the engine. No truck shall be operated with a leak in the fuel system until the leak has been corrected. Good idea. Open flames should not be used for checking electrolyte levels in storage batteries or gasoline level in fuel tanks. Don't want to do that. Any powered industrial truck not in safe operating condition shall be removed from service. All repairs shall be made by authorized personnel. No repairs should be made in class 1, 2, and 3 locations. Those repairs to the fuel and ignition systems of industrial trucks which involve fire hazards shall be conducted only in locations designated for such repairs. Trucks in need of repairs to the electrical system shall have the battery disconnected prior to such repairs. All parts of any such industrial truck requiring replacement shall be replaced only by parts equivalent as to safety which those used in the original design. Industrial trucks shall not be altered so that the relative positions of the various parts are different from what they were when originally received by the manufacturer, or altered by an addition of extra parts not provided by the manufacturer, or the elimination of any parts except as provided by Q12 in this section. Additional counterweighting for trucks should not be done unless approved by the truck manufacturer. Industrial trucks shall be examined before being placed in service and shall not be placed in service if the examination shows any condition adversely affecting the safety of the vehicle. Such examination shall be made at least daily. Where industrial trucks are used on a round-the-clock basis, they shall be examined after each shift. Defects, when found, shall immediately be reported and corrected. So if they're used daily, if they only use it one shift, then daily. But if they're used around the clock, they have to be examined on each shift. Water mufflers shall be filled daily or as frequently as necessary to prevent depletion of the supply of water below 75% of the filled capacity. Vehicles with mufflers, I don't know if anybody using water mufflers anymore. If they do, then go back to that paragraph. When the temperature of any part of the truck is found to be in excess of its normal operating temperature, thus creating a hazardous condition, vehicles shall be removed from service and not returned to service until the cause for such overheating as eliminated. Industrial trucks shall be kept in a clean condition, free of lint, excess oil, and grease. Non-combustible agents should be used for cleaning trucks. Low flashpoint solvents shall not be used. High flashpoint solvents may be used. Precautions regarding toxicity, ventilation, and fire hazards shall be consonant with the agent or solvent used. Industrial trucks originally approved the use of gasoline as may be converted to liquefied petroleum gas fuel, provided the complete conversion results in a truck which embodies the features specified for LP or LPS designated trucks. Such conversion equipment shall be approved. The description of the component parts of this conversion system and the recommended method of installation on specific trucks are contained in the listed by report. That's it. Okay, that's enough, I think. So that's industrial trucks. All right, read it. It's I know standards are a pain to read, but they're very important. That's it for now.